All right, why don't we kick things off here? Thank you for everyone for joining. My name is Tim Sauvé. I'm the Chief Partnerships Officer here at CreatorIQ. I'm joined by Doug and Kelsey. I'll let them introduce themselves in just a second. Really excited and honored to have them joining us today. Our focus for the webinar is really around how creator-led marketing is driving real business results, and ultimately how brands and agencies like you can stay at the forefront of consumer mindsets. Something really important as we think about the evolution of the industry. And I will let Doug and Kelsey introduce themselves. Kelsey, would you like to go first?
Sure. Hi, everybody. It's nice to meet you. I'm Kelsey Chickering. I'm a principal analyst here at Forrester. I cover a broad range of topics from media strategy and communications planning through to social media strategy and the creator economy. I'm excited to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Doug Jensen. I'm a Senior Vice President of Go-to-Market Analytics and Activation and the Learning Center of Excellence at Estée Lauder Companies. For the purpose of this discussion today, I'm going to talk about earned media measurement, how we think about that space, and how we're using marketing mix modeling to measure influencer marketing and the creator economy.
Perfect. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Kelsey. I know we're going to come back to you. But today I'm going to kick things off with a recent research study that CreatorIQ conducted with a market research firm called Aberdeen. And really our focus here was to truly understand what the impacts of business outcomes are with creator-led marketing for brands. You know, a lot of us have been in the industry for some time, and we're moving from vanity metrics to really trying to understand what are real business results, what are the ROI that brands are looking for in order to continue to invest in the space. So our research was really inspired by a set of questions. How does creator-led marketing drive value for brands? How do content creators drive consumer affinities? How do brands track and evaluate their creator marketing programs' impact on revenue? And as part of this survey, we received results from over 200 marketing leaders, VP or above, in the US and UK from enterprise and mid-market brands. And these brands were in categories like beauty, CPG, gaming, media, retail, food and bev. Exactly the important categories you would expect for something like creator marketing. And the results were really impactful and quite interesting as we looked at not only the investments in creator marketing, but also how does it compare to digital advertising today? So as we know, creators are now at the center of the brand and consumer relationship, as almost all brands are investing in influencer marketing and the channel at large. However, what we saw was a dramatic increase, and really the gap widens the more you invest in the space. And so what we did is we broke down the research results into two categories. So we looked at creator marketing leaders, or the top 20% of brand responses. And how do we measure top 20%? Well, we looked at things like key metrics, impressions, engagement, conversion, annual revenue. All right. We also looked at length of time that brands were investing in this space, budgets they were investing. And really what we saw is that these leaders outperformed the other 80% in year-over-year improvements across almost every KPI at every stage of the funnel. So when you look at some of these stats here, these leaders, again, over the other 80%, saw a 6x improvement in year-over-year revenue growth, an 8 to 9x greater improvement in engagements and impressions, a 12x greater improvement in conversion rates, and significantly greater year-over-year increases in key brand health metrics. So think customer retention, positive brand sentiment, customer satisfaction, and maybe most importantly, average customer profit margin. So when you push in on these brand health metrics, we saw that leaders in the category saw 3 to 5x improvement in these areas, including a 4.3x improvement in positive brand sentiment and a 4.4x improvement in customer profit margin. So as you can see, everyone saw really important and impactful results here. But the more you invest, the more you work with creators, the more you can measure this, the better results you're going to get. Kelsey's going to take us through some insights from Forrester right now that I think back this up. But you can also download this full research report online at CreatorIQ. There's a ton more results and actionable insights in the report. Kelsey?
Awesome, thank you. So over the last several months, we've actually done a bunch of research on the creator economy, trying to look at, first of all, what is the size of this market? What are brands doing to succeed? And what are the best practices for brands to consider as they develop partnerships? And, with over 300 million creators worldwide, the creator economy, it just continues to grow, and it's grown exponentially over the last several years. And there's no signs that this is slowing down. And, our data actually shows that nearly half of Gen Z, say social media influencers and creators, are the primary way that they discover new products or brands. So not one of the ways, but actually the main way that they're discovering these new products. So in this world that's becoming increasingly creator-led, brands need a multidimensional strategy in order to succeed. And when we think about the different ways to do that on the next slide, one of them is really embedding yourself in new communities. As you start to develop a creator strategy, do it through the lens of your consumers. Creators operate within countless communities. From beauty to engineering, if you go on TikTok, there is a community for every type of topic you could imagine, even seaweed foraging. So think about how you might develop these partnerships within many different communities that are relevant to your audience segments. And that might mean that the creators that you work with, they can vary in size, from micro and nano creators to macro celebrities. Macro celebrities aren't the end all be all of creator partnerships anymore. And when we really talk to brands, we think about, how do you have a layered partnership strategy where you might have an always on affiliate layer that's just, working with thousands of influencers even to help sort of churn product and help you sell on that lower funnel, in that lower funnel way, balanced by ambassador programs where you might have deeper relationships with creators over a period of time. And then you punctuate with these, bigger macro celebrities within your programs, but really thinking about how it's multidimensional and multi-layered in the types of creators that you work with and the communities that you embed yourself in. And then the other area we think about is how you might fuel your brand's content engine. I like to think about two different sides of creator marketing, the make side and the promote side. And the influencer marketing world is probably most familiar and sort of rooted in this promote side of the house, where you hire a creator and you hire them for their influence and for their audience and to get in front of their followers. And that's still important and that's still happening, but increasingly creators are acting as content producers for brands, where they're making even your organic social media content for you. And brands are hiring these creators to scale their content production efforts. And this content can be used across many different channels, not just promote it to those creators' followers, but used in many aspects of your media plan. So this is more about the content itself than the creators following. And our data shows that 79% of US B2C marketing leaders at organizations that are investing in influencers, 79% of them are hiring creators to make content for their organic TikTok. And my research, I also talked to several retailers, and one of them, Rainbow Shops, they found that the content that they were making with creators performed so much better than and frankly, it was cheaper than the content that they were making themselves. So they're building a whole content studio, and most of their social media content is now creator made. But all of this is to say is it's also more than just hashtag ad promoted posts. We've talked about making content for your different media channels. We've talked about promoted posts, but all of that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many more ways to work with creators. And our data shows that over half of US B2C marketing and ad executives who run creator programs, they do it to drive direct sales. And affiliate, there's many different areas here, but one of them I'll mention is affiliate. And that's one of the biggest growth areas that we've seen in the creator economy. And Tim, I know we've talked about this too. This is something that you're seeing on your end. And major retailers are now working with thousands of creators on these large scale affiliate programs that are delivering on lower funnel sales metrics. And then, ambassador programs is another way where this is good for long-term engagement. Sephora is a brand, they work with diverse creators and they work with them on a year-long ambassador program. And these types of partnerships are successful because the brand and the creator, they get to know each other over time. And those ongoing posts and engagements make the content come across as more authentic. So this is all to say, when you take a broader view for what creative partnerships can mean to you and mean to your brand, you end up with a more layered, a multidimensional strategy that helps your brand at every stage of the customer life cycle. So as you move forward and think about how to engage in these partnerships, if you're not already, collaboration and trust, these are the key ingredients. And these great creative partnerships are all about co-building of products, of ideas, creative executions. And one of the most common pitfalls that we see is creative over direction, where you just can't let go and you just want to control every piece of the creative. But when you do that, when you don't resist that temptation, you end up with this lifeless content that's just you're not getting your money's worth for what you're partnering on. So if you remember nothing else, remember this. One, creators are better than you at making social media content. They know their audiences and what works on the platform better than you do. Trust that. And the second thing is the best partnerships, they include more than social media posts. Get the most out of your campaign assets, negotiate content rights, outside of your creator social media platforms. Think about how you might use it in digital video, in CTV, in out of home. There's so many other places to use this content. The third, your partnerships serve many different purposes. Like I said before, don't just look at those macro celebrities. Have this multi-layered strategy with many different types of creators and communities. And then lastly, fair and respectful collaboration is non-negotiable. Creators, they're still people. You need to treat them fairly, or you risk hurting your own reputation and brand in the process. Oh, and sorry, this is just a little preview, a few pieces of research that we've had come out in the last several months. So if you want, go and check it out.
Cool. Thank you so much, Kelsey. Sure. And you would think after a few years on Zoom, I would be better than this, but I left a comment in the chat earlier and I realized it wasn't to everyone. We will have a Q&A at the end of this session, another 15 minutes or so. So I've seen a couple questions pop up in the chat, but feel free to leave questions for Kelsey, Doug, myself in the Q&A. I'll be reviewing and moderating in just a bit. But to kick things off, I really want to bring Doug into the conversation now. Doug has just so much insight around measurement, analytics, et cetera, at ELC. So Doug, question for you. We spoke earlier about the business outcomes influencer marketing leaders realize. How do you and really how does ELC approach understanding full funnel impact here? And really to steal Kelsey's term, make more than an ad when working with creators.
Yeah, indeed. So what you see on the screen is actually our corporate philosophy and our approach to measurement. We use something called marketing mix modeling, which many people have known for many years. But in our case, we transformed to the approach that you see on the screen about 7 to 8 years ago. And just actually for some context, I've been with Estée Lauder companies now for 10 years. I've been doing the work of marketing mix modeling for a couple decades, actually. But when social media and creator content started to become really important to beauty companies and really to all industries, it forced us to rethink how we do modeling. And what I mean by that is typically you're looking for marketing effects and their influences on the bottom of this chart. Number 3, retail sales or conversion. And when we first started to witness Instagram and specifically in the makeup area, a lot of creators showcasing our brands and products, and we were looking for the effect on sales, we actually couldn't detect an effect on sales. And so we used our agency partner and we lamented on this because at the time, all these makeup creators were exploding in terms of the amount of content and all these makeup brands were growing tremendously. So we knew that there was something wrong with the approach. And so our agency that we used came to us and said, yes, let's transform it. And so we now look at models at different parts of the consumer funnel. So the way to think about this chart is the circles in media, CRM, promotions, consider the V1 for influencer marketing. And the area on the right shows the 3 types of models that we do. So we run a model on desirability. And if you think about it, when you're working with creators in the most organic way, even before you pay them, what you're trying to do or use them for is to drive desirability. And like I was saying, when you're looking for a sales effect, initially, that's not the point. And that our brand teams started to tell us that. So what we're looking for is an effect on desirability. And then we see whether if it drives someone, in this case, to search more in Google about our brands. So for example, working with Creator and our Clinique brand, for example, working with that creator and their content, that drives someone to go into the Google search engine to search about Clinique or to search about a specific product. We'll talk about one of our products in Clinique is called Almost Lipstick, which is an OG product that actually has gone viral recently. We'll talk about that in a minute. The second model that we run is we look for the impact on consideration. Does the influencer marketing drive someone to come to our site, which we call a brand.com site? Does it drive traffic? In other words? And then finally, we look at retail sales. But the way that we think about it is it's all an interconnected, nested ecosystem. In other words, you can't see a sales effect until you first see a desirability effect and then also see a consideration effect. And we've been doing this for, I want to say 7 years, and it's really transformed our measurement. And now what we can measure is the influencer and creator marketing effect of all parts of the funnel. And we've proven to ourselves that it's driving contributions in all parts of the funnel, and it's actually quite profitable.
And Doug, to your credit, I know you're underplaying it. I mean, ELC and your efforts really were the first to look at desirability and this correlation between creator and things like Google search volume. It's really, really impressive and groundbreaking what you've been doing for 7 years. I know you just quickly showed the Clinique product. So let's jump into a real life case study. So I think you want to talk a little bit about how Black Honey went viral after being on the market for what, 40, 50 years. I'm curious how ELC captured this lightning in a bottle moment. How do you think about leveraging fans as part of this creator initiative, and any other insights that you had around this product?
Yeah, certainly. So first, Clinique as a brand has been around since 1968. It has a product called Black Honey Almost Lipstick that was actually created in 1971. And so the virality happened actually in the 50th year anniversary of that. A lot of creators discovered this product because of its universal ability to make any woman's lips look amazing after application. And particularly diverse women who might not find the right shade of lipstick for herself could find that this product worked really well for her. And so this viral virality moment happened about 2 years ago, and we couldn't stop selling. We were out of stock on this product and actually had been for some time, and it's still selling quite well. So the way to think about it is this creator content happens to you. In this case, obviously, TikTok has been the main generator of a lot of this content. You can't often predict this is going to happen. Again, this is not a new product. There's no reason why this should have gone viral, but it did. And so our company's job and our brand's job are to harness that idea, make sure we work with those creators, get usage rights to the content, and then work to actually do paid media behind it, work with other creators to generate other content. Because the idea here is that it's like when you put a rock in a pond and you see these waves happening. The waves are other creators talking about the same thing. So a lot of creators create this groundswell and they create these waves. And the brand's job is to just harness it and make it happen. And what I'm sharing on the bottom is basically the 2-year effect of that. So the green line represents our market share, which is in the lip color category for Clinique. And you can see it's been growing for 2 years. And then the black line represents the data that we get from CreatorIQ and the Tribe Dynamics platform, where we look at what we call influencer EMV. The platform calls it EMV, we call it influencer EMV, which is essentially earned media value generated by all these creators. And you can see that that's been, that amount has been growing. So you can see the tight correlation between the two. So again, the whole idea is any main product can be attractive to any consumer. It's making sure that you're behind the creator, supporting them, getting rights to their content, boosting their content with media, and just making sure you have the product in stock, because even after 2 years, the brand has had some out of stock moments as well.
And Doug, I'm looking in the chat. You have a couple fans who are currently on the webinar. So great work there. I'll flip things over to Kelsey. So we just heard from Doug about this kind of big brand moment. In your view, what can brands do to increase their chances of creating these types of moments? And have you seen other brands really drive these aha moments via community-led growth?
Sure. I've now talked probably nauseam about how important a multidimensional strategy is with creators, but I think this also applies to big brand moments. First I would start with, what communities are you trying to embed yourself in and trying to connect with? And your big brand moment might not even be a mass moment, but it might be big within a community. So how are you going to permeate that culture, and what brand action can you take to actually get people talking and really brief that way? I come from agency world, and I worked on brands where we were actually briefing on not necessarily sales, not necessarily on mass impressions, but how do I get people talking about me more? And I think when you take that as an input, your creative ideas, your media ideas, they change. And as it relates to creators, I think this also means thinking multi-channel. You're not necessarily going to strike lightning with one creator TikTok video. Like, you might, but the odds are not super great for that. So make many pieces of content across many social media channels with many creators, and boost that with paid media. Repurpose that content in other places like digital video, CTV, your owned channels, email, website, and support your work with paid media and give that content the airtime it deserves. If you are spending all this time and money on a TV spot, you wouldn't just run it organically somewhere. You're going to boost it. So some of the brands that we've seen who do succeed, I think they let creators become embedded also in their product planning process. A couple of examples from our research: Lake Pajamas is one. This is a high-end pajama brand popular with millennials. They actually started collaborating with influencers fairly early on, and they would make these pieces from a collection, create it with an influencer, and these products were selling out within like hours of them launching. Tabasco is another brand. They launched a limited edition. It was an avocado jalapeno hot sauce dressing, but it worked because they collaborated with this TikTok influencer, Tanks, who's famous, but she was always talking about adding Tabasco to her salads. So there was this like perfect synergy of, she's already using the product, she loves the brand, she has a big following, and they were able to take that and do something with it, and do something tangible by making a product. And this product actually became a Amazon bestseller in the hot sauce category. So there are opportunities for you to strike like that, but that was very calculated. There was paid media behind it. They were choosing the creator wisely. They were making sure there are people who care about their brand, and so her talking about it felt authentic and felt real because it was something that she would care about and talk about. So really taking all those considerations in, I think, help you have those big brand moments. But there's no one solve for that. I'm sure, Doug, you see this too. Like, not everything you do takes off, but if you use all these ingredients, some of them will.
Yeah, something we talk a lot about internally is the lifetime value of that creator relationship and the lifetime value of that content. And it truly starts with a social post, certainly doesn't end there. And there's actually a question in the chat that asks specifically about boosting creator content. And it's a big area of focus for us, and reducing that friction of being able to get content from organic or other means to partnership ads or allow listing type ads on the metas of the world. And so being able to easily move that content over, understand its performance, and the vast majority of our customers today do absolutely have a organic plus paid approach. Paid is a part of almost not every campaign, but I would say 70% of campaigns now that we're seeing through our platforms. And that's tens of thousands of pieces of content flowing through CreatorIQ each month. Kelsey, just switching gears a little bit, a critical topic and focus for the industry. You talked about successful creator partnerships and really this, making sure that there is a lens of DEI, making sure that the creators you work with, the audiences you're trying to reach, are really an authentic reflection of the consumer, of the brand, and that relationship. Can you talk about some of your research in this, and really how creator selection and content creation and how DEI plays into this?
Sure. Yeah, we have published a report last year on how important it is for brands to be investing in diverse media. And in that research, one of the findings we had was that over half of Gen Z in the US expect companies to take a stand on diversity and inclusion. And the oldest of that group, which also happens to be the most ethnically and racially diverse generation, they've entered the workforce and they're ready to spend money. So their perception of you really, really matters. But it's not just about perception, about taking a stand or doing good, although all of that is important. It's also, I think, realizing that investing in diverse audiences and building inclusive media plans, that doesn't actually compete with your growth. It helps you grow. And, there's plenty of data I won't get into that supports that. But, marketers, I think, often rely on these, general market strategies instead of being more community-based to do their heavy lifting. And they often want to do fewer better, which in the creator world might mean just working with these few top-tier influencers to reach all segments in a mass way versus focusing on that connection. So they're really valuing this visibility over community and connection. And this happens in the overall paid media landscape all the time, but it's also happening with creators. And I think when brands prioritize mass reach over and like an appeal over their community, they're missing out on that growth. So just a couple of examples of brands who aren't doing that and are investing in diverse creators. Nike, they created an ad for TikTok called She's Ballin', and it was this compilation of different snapshots of women from different backgrounds, all playing soccer. And this content was actually considered the most creatively effective ad on TikTok last July. Another example, L'Oreal, they invest quite a bit in inclusive marketing. They were part of our research, and they have an ambassador group called the L'Oreal League, and they recruit diverse creators for these year-long ambassador programs. And in doing this, they don't just boost the creators' exposure to the beauty and fashion world, but it also gets them in early with these creators as they're growing their following, as they're building out what their persona is going to be, so they can actually grow together. And they said that when they started making these investments in diverse creators and diversity overall, they saw more recruitment, better engagement, and higher sales as a result. So these inclusive media plans, these creator activations, I think, they shouldn't just be considered a corporate responsibility initiative. These are initiatives that positively impact your business growth. So I think teams that are thinking about trying to do this, you need to start by exposing yourself and your team to different partners, to different types of creators, to work with your partners like CreatorIQ to find, these other people who maybe aren't on your radar, and seek out those partners and people who aren't necessarily mainstream to start testing with.
Thank you for that. So I want to end this portion of the conversation with another case study from Doug, and then we'll turn it over to the audience Q&A. So Doug, we'd love for you to share how Mac has taken a creator-first approach to product launches, especially with this example here with Mac Stack Mascara. And I believe this is a big TikTok campaign for you, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed. Well, at first, we should start by saying the diversity topic extends to this brand in total. So the Mac brand has been around for, I think, since the 90s, and is known in the industry for being that makeup brand that every woman or man can use to have makeup that will work for him or her. And, Mac has been known as the OG. What I would say about the commentary that Kelsey did is I agree with everything that she said. the whole diversity notion, you have to really be, from a business imperative perspective, leaning into diverse audiences, because as far as the example I gave you with Clinique, that was driven in large part because of that shade working on diverse audiences. In this case, MAC is the OG diversity brand for the makeup industry. And MAC has been leaning into earned media for quite some time. MAC is always in the top 10 of brand rankings within makeup, even within beauty, within CreatorIQ's ranks. But what's interesting about this is, my view is, it's not only working with creators who are naturally interested in your brand or have authentic connections to your brand, but my contention is the product itself is the key. It's the linchpin. And in the case of MAC, MAC hasn't always been known for mascara, but launched this new innovation called MAC Stack Mascara. And I can tell you, everyone who's a woman that works for me owns it. They went out and bought it as soon as it came out. It is incredible in terms of its performance, and obviously product quality has to be there for any of this to work. And I'm just sharing with you that we saw a resurgence in interest in the overall MAC brand when we launched this new MAC Stack Mascara. And obviously, when you're doing these launches, you're doing things like hashtags. So there was MAC Mascara Face campaign. There was another one called a MAC Challenge Accepted that actually coincided with the launch of MAC Stack. So our brand team does a really good job bringing a 360 effort to all of this. And so, again, like the other example, you can see our market share in red growing over time, especially in mascara. And then you can see our influencer E&D growing. And that big bump you see in the middle was exactly when MAC Stack launched. So we were already kind of doing well. And then it has transformed slowly over time. But really the market share improvement is what I think about a lot. So we use the marketing mix modeling to measure the return on investment of all these efforts, but we also look at simple things like market share to prove it out as well. So to conclude, diversity is key in both of these brand examples. Authentic content and then the product innovation, I would say, are the three kind of success factors here.
Cool, thank you for that. And I see a bunch of questions coming in, so I will actually, sorry, let me quickly cover takeaways. I missed this one. So a ton of great insights from Doug and Kelsey, but key takeaways, if you were going to screenshot a slide, I think this is the one from today. So I'll quickly go through these, and then Doug, Kelsey would love your insights on anything you want to add here. But definitely avoid being left behind. As I covered, it's hard to increase budgets. Top two things we hear from our customers when surveying them is we don't have a big enough budget. We don't have enough resources internally. Our team size needs to grow for us to have a bigger impact in this category. So hopefully some of the insights today, some of the data can help justify these increases. But we really do see outsized gains the more you invest in this category. And brands who lean in and embrace content creators with relevant and compelling products will win. Again, this is a multi-channel approach. It does not start and stop with social posts. Think about how this content can be used across paid media, ratings and reviews, your owned and operated.coms, all these different channels. Kelsey even mentioned CTV as a growing channel. And then creator-led efforts consistently are outperforming traditional advertising today. There are other digital advertising channels they're on par, but we're seeing a big shift from traditional over to creator. Obviously, the likes of TikTok is taking a lot of that, but we're seeing increased investments across the board. And then as Doug covered, measuring, being able to integrate this into your mixed media models and other ways to truly measure the channel apples to apples is the only way that you're going to get back to the justification for increased budgets, the justification for resources, and a justification to grow these programs. So Doug, Kelsey, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, Tim, I want to jump on that last point. So I've been working in marketing mix modeling, which is what MMM is, for a couple of decades. And what's interesting is that it's making a resurgence. And what I put in the chat is a Harvard Business Review article about that. And one of the reasons why is that if anyone on this call works in social media and you're hearing about cookies and cookies going away, any kind of individual consumer behavior that you're trying to track into paid media efforts is going to go away soon. MMM doesn't use individual data. It uses aggregated patterns and data, and it's, as a methodology, gaining a resurgence because of that cookie deprecation issue. So I'd encourage users who want to go a little geeky they can do that with that link. I would say also, we've talked about this before, but the brands, the second point, the brands who lean in and embrace content creators will win. But I want to just underscore the relevant and compelling products. You can't make anything go viral. Nothing will go viral unless it's compelling. Compelling in terms of product innovation, product payoff, anything that the consumer notices. That's what drives the content, drives the virality. Is it they are so excited about putting on Clinique almost lipstick that they must create this video and share it with everyone. That's how compelling some of the stuff is. So I just want to underscore those 2 points.
Cool. Thank you, Doug. Really appreciate it. And we have some great questions. So I'm going to kick things off. We've had some success stories today, and everyone wants to hear about challenges too. I'll throw this out to either of you, or maybe Kelsey, you can go first here. Can you share any pitfalls that you see when brands engaged in creator campaigns?
Oh, there's a lot of pitfalls. The biggest one I mentioned earlier was the overdirection piece, and I think and briefing, and not briefing creators well, and then also not backing off when you should back off. So, I think thinking beyond the standard 2-page document that maybe doesn't really inspire creators, think about how you can make that exciting. I mean, I've heard about plenty of beauty brands that are inviting creators in to talk to the scientists and to learn more about the product and really get their hands on the product to understand why it's great. So I would say think outside the box as it relates to briefing. And then, one of the other ones, and I said there's many, in our best practices report, we have a whole graphic with it, like probably 15 pitfalls in there. But also be discerning about who you work with and choosing your partners. Not every creator is best suited to your brand, your standards, your goals. Don't accept everybody who tries to come to you and work with you. So if a brand doesn't match if a creator doesn't match your goals, don't include them. Having fewer creators with the right aesthetic and the right audience and right for your brand is better than many creators that don't fit the bill.
What I would add is, the longer you are in this creator identification business, or said another way, the longer you've been looking and seeking out and engaging with creators who are organically talking about you, the longer you've been doing that, the less pitfalls you'll have, I would say. So you will have surprises if you're just jumping into trying to figure out how to go into this business. Go find these creators and initially react as a brand or reach out to them without having studied or having this history. So the success, I mean, CreatorIQ and Tribe Dynamics have been talking about this for years. You will win over the long haul. This is a long game, especially if you're trying to do it more organically. I would say also, just not every creator is good for every brand. And that's where, in our case, each of our brand teams has individuals whose job it is to review, vet, and actually take the lens of, is this creator right, not only for my brand, but for what my brand's equity or DNA stands for. And that filter, which is probably obvious, is probably the biggest and best thing that our company's brand teams do. The brand is the main thing you need to nurture and cultivate. And working with a creator, as Kelsey was saying, a creator who's not right for you can do a lot of damage. You have to be very protective of that.
And Doug, I want to build on that, because I think it's a really important point. And I'm going to combine 2 questions right now, but I think it's going to dig into exactly what you're covering there. So we have one question around how do you calculate ROI for long-term ambassador partnerships? And then the other question I think ties into that nicely, because when we talk about community and retention and growth over time, is what do you say to teams or brands who actually don't have a paid media budget? How do they succeed without paid? And I think that ties in nicely to the ambassador approach and truly understanding and building your organic community over time.
Well, first you start by making the business case for why influencer marketing matters, and probably have to keep doing that year over year. Then you need to hire, influencer marketing experts who understand what that influencer outreach looks like. And you don't have to have a lot of them. I think, Tim, you guys say there's usually one person can do outreach to about 500 creators.
Yeah.
So that's a rule of thumb. Then start the process of that influencer outreach. Use technologies like CreatorIQ, like Tribe Dynamics, figure out who's posting about you, and then start that organic relationship with them over time. The way that we prove ROI is actually through the MMM approach that I was sharing with you. I didn't quite complete the story, but essentially from that marketing mix modeling, we will know for all the investments. And by the way, earned media, let's just say it, earned media is not free. When we say earned media, we don't mean zero money. We just mean that we're spending it differently. We're not spending on paid media. We're spending on relationship building. We might invite creators to an event. We might send product to creators. You might do other things to cultivate that creator relationship that costs less money, but it does cost some money. So when we do that marketing mix modeling, we understand the incrementality, meaning the incremental sales, the incremental Google queries, the incremental site traffic, and the incremental sales. And then we put our smaller influencer marketing spend against that. And that's how we prove the ROI. It's typically a 3-to-1 ratio. For every $3 you spent, you get $3 in incremental sales from creator marketing. And we've done that for almost 10 years. So we now know that. So the debate of the ROI is not there. It's really the scale. How big can you make this? Because if one person can reach 500, could you have 10 people reaching 10 times that much? What's the right sweet spot? And I think most brands are in that space trying to figure that out.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question that I'm going to squeeze in. So everyone loves a good prediction or a good trend as we move into the holiday season coming up, either end of this year or as we peak into 2024. And whether this be for social platform around creators, or even industries or categories that are seeing significant growth in influencer marketing. Really, what are you looking forward to, or what are your teams focused on as, and Kelsey, what are you seeing from a trend as we push into 2024 here in a couple months?
Okay, I'll go quick. I have two things. One, I think that especially for Gen Z minded marketers, and this is part of our predictions, so spoiler for next year, that TikTok is going to really steal share from traditional television. And we know that obviously budgets on TV or linear TV are going down, especially for brands that are trying to reach younger audiences. But I don't think that it's going to go to CTV. I think it's going to go to TikTok and creators, because that's really where the entertainment time is happening for younger audiences. The other piece I'm hot on right now is commerce, and I'll drop it in the chat, but I just published a blog post the other day just about the TikTok shop launch that I'm sure many of you have saw. That was yesterday now. But I think this launch is really making social commerce a plausible idea in the United States. Historically, hasn't been something that's taken off as much as it has in APAC, but I think with a better experience and with creators really leaning in and leading it, there's a really good chance that this will be an opportunity to make social media a viable commerce engine.
Doug, I'll ask you the same question. What are you seeing?
Yeah, not as sexy as what Kelsey is saying, but I would say just from the social media platform perspective, we know that TikTok's on the rise. And like Kelsey said, I think that will only grow and continue. But I would advise our audience here that Instagram is not going anywhere. And in fact, CreatorIQ's data suggests that the earned media value is still quite large, and in fact, larger in Instagram than TikTok. So it's important to have a balance and make sure you're not putting all of your eggs in the TikTok basket and forgetting that Instagram is an established platform that a lot of consumers still want to spend their money on, or spend their time on, I should say. And my other prediction is what I put in the chat, which is that you're going to see a lot more companies talking about using MMM to measure this. I'm an evangelist of this topic. I think MMM is a robust methodology. It should be done more often. I don't know why it isn't. There's a healthy debate in the measurement industry about something called attribution modeling. So my prediction is attribution modeling will die a death because it's largely dependent on cookies. Cookies are going to go away. So there's two.
Thank you so much, Kelsey, Doug. Really, really appreciate you spending time with us today. Thank you for everyone for joining us. There was a couple of questions. This content will be on demand as well. You can share with your teams. Happy to follow up with any questions. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.